There are moments in life when the noise of the world feels overwhelming, when chaos seems to stretch its fingers into every corner of our days, and uncertainty leaves us restless, as if we were walking through a dense fog with no visible path ahead. These are the moments when our instincts whisper questions we often ignore. Am I truly aligned with the rhythm of life? Am I listening to my inner compass, or drowning it out with fear and distraction? It is in the midst of these turbulent times that alignment with the universe becomes not a luxury but a necessity. To align is not to control circumstances, but to cultivate a state of harmony within, to discover that the calm we seek is not waiting in the future, but is available now, in the silence we rarely allow ourselves to enter. In this video, we will embark on a journey that transcends surface-level solutions. Together, we will explore the art of listening to intuition, not as a fleeting voice easily dismissed, but as the most reliable guide available when the external world loses coherence. Intuition is the subtle current beneath the waves of thought, the signal that directs us when logic runs out of answers. To co-create with the universe is to accept that life is a partnership, not a solo performance. It is to recognize that every thought, every choice, and every vibration sent out into the field of possibility shapes the experiences that return to us. This is not about chasing miracles outside of ourselves, but about discovering the miraculous nature of alignment within ourselves. Throughout this introduction, I invite you to imagine that every breath is a thread weaving you closer to the center of who you are meant to be. The chaos around you may persist, yet your perception of it changes as you ground yourself in the truth that you are not separate from the universe. You are an expression of it. The storms may rage, but the eye of the storm, that still and unwavering center, is already inside you. By the end of this journey, you will not only understand the importance of aligning with the universe, but will also begin to embody it, opening space for clarity, trust, and a co-created path even when life feels uncertain. Here we begin a dialogue not just about manifestation, but about the deeper art of living in resonance with the rhythm of existence itself. When chaos surrounds us, it is tempting to believe that clarity will come only when circumstances outside of us finally settle. Yet the deeper truth is that clarity is not a gift of the environment. It is the fruit of inner alignment. To align with the universe is not to bend reality to our personal will, but to cultivate a relationship with the larger flow of existence, one in which our intentions and our presence become a harmonious extension of something greater than ourselves. This alignment begins with awareness, the quiet recognition that the noise we perceive outside often mirrors the noise we harbor within. If the inner landscape is filled with doubt, fear, or unresolved pain, the world will appear chaotic, even in moments of calm. The invitation here is to recognize that our inner state does not just color our perception of the outer world, it shapes the experiences we magnetize. Listening to intuition is the second movement in this dance of alignment. Intuition is not a vague impression or a superstition, but a subtle form of knowing that emerges when we are fully present. It rises when the rational mind, with all its analysis and skepticism, grows silent long enough for the deeper layers of consciousness to be heard. Many ignore it because it speaks in whispers rather than shouts, and because it does not always conform to logic. Yet intuition is profoundly practical. It is the soft pull to take a different route, the sudden clarity that says wait when the world tells us to hurry, or the warmth in the chest that affirms we are in the right place even when our minds list reasons to leave. Trusting this voice is both an act of courage and an act of surrender, because it requires letting go of control and entering into collaboration with the unknown. Co-creating the right path with the universe is not about demanding outcomes or forcing destiny. It is about partnership. Every thought we nurture, every choice we make, and every emotional vibration we embody sends out a signal. These signals do not vanish. They interact with the invisible field of possibility that surrounds us. In times of uncertainty, the quality of our signal matters more than the quantity of our effort. When our inner world resonates with coherence, when our thoughts, emotions, and actions are in agreement, we create conditions where opportunities appear, synchronicities multiply, and paths open that logic alone could never have anticipated. Co-creation is not a matter of asking once and waiting passively. It is the daily practice of walking in resonance, step by step, even when the horizon is unclear. Yet there is a challenge that almost everyone faces on this journey: the constant pull of distraction. Modern life is designed to fragment our attention, to scatter our energy across countless trivialities. Each notification, each demand, each comparison to someone else's journey erodes the depth of presence needed to feel aligned. This is where discipline becomes an ally, not as a rigid control, but as a sacred boundary. Setting aside moments of silence, cultivating rituals of breath or reflection, and committing to spaces free of distraction are practical gateways to alignment. These moments are not luxuries, they are anchors. Without them, intuition remains faint, and the partnership with the universe feels distant. With them, alignment becomes not just a concept, but a lived reality. Alignment also requires a radical honesty with oneself. It is not enough to speak affirmations of abundance while silently harboring resentment or fear. The universe responds not to our words, but to our frequency, and frequency is shaped by what we truly feel. This is why the journey of alignment often begins in uncomfortable places. Grief that has not been honored, anger that has been suppressed, or doubts that have been hidden under layers of forced optimism. When these emotions are acknowledged with compassion rather than denied, their energy is freed. Only then can we begin to vibrate authentically in the direction of our desires. Alignment is not about bypassing pain. It is about integrating it so completely that it no longer dictates the shape of our future. To live aligned is to move from fear into trust. Trust is not passive. It is an active posture of openness, a willingness to step forward even without guarantees. This trust deepens through evidence. Each time we follow an intuitive nudge and find that it leads to unexpected clarity, each time we surrender control and discover that life unfolds in ways better than we imagined, our trust expands. Over time, alignment becomes less of a struggle and more of a natural state. We begin to see the universe not as an adversary to be conquered, but as a partner whispering possibilities. Even in chaos, even in uncertainty, the aligned individual walks with a quiet confidence, aware that storms are temporary and that inner coherence always finds its reflection in the outer world. The heart of alignment is presence. To be present is to be fully alive in the now, without being pulled into regrets of the past or anxieties of the future. Presence is where intuition speaks most clearly, where the partnership with the universe feels most tangible. And presence is cultivated, not stumbled upon. It grows with practice, through meditation, through mindful breath, through stillness in the midst of noise. Presence cannot be borrowed, and it cannot be faked. It is earned each day by the choices we make about where to place our attention. And it is this attention, consistently grounded in the moment, that transforms chaos into clarity, uncertainty into opportunity, and fear into trust. When we speak of aligning with the universe, listening to intuition, and co-creating the path ahead, we are not speaking about distant ideals. We are speaking about daily practices, embodied truths, and lived experiences. The first step is willingness. The willingness to believe that clarity can be found inside, the willingness to listen to whispers instead of shouts, the willingness to release control and partner with something larger than the self. From there, every small act of alignment becomes a seed planted in the soil of possibility. Some seeds sprout quickly, others take time, but all eventually transform into evidence that life is conspiring with us, not against us. There comes a moment in every journey of transformation when reason no longer offers the clarity we crave. We analyze, compare, and plan, yet the path ahead remains shrouded in uncertainty. In such moments, what often rises from within is not another logical conclusion but a quieter voice, one that carries neither argument nor explanation, yet feels undeniably true. This is intuition. To listen to intuition is not to abandon logic, but to acknowledge that human perception is larger than thought alone. Thought is linear, moving from one conclusion to another. Intuition, however, emerges in a flash, an immediate recognition that bypasses deliberation and speaks to a deeper alignment between self and the universe. Intuition often manifests as subtle signals in the body, a tightening of the chest when considering one option, a sense of release when considering another, a sudden image that appears in the mind's eye, or a gentle wave of warmth in the heart. These are not accidents of biology, but reflections of the body's attunement to energy and truth. The challenge is that many people have grown disconnected from their inner signals. The pace of modern life, constant external stimulation, and the habitual numbing of feelings through distraction all weaken the channel through which intuition speaks. To restore it requires not only attention, but trust. It demands that we pause long enough to hear the whispers beneath the noise and trust them, even when they contradict what is expected. The essence of listening to intuition lies in cultivating presence. When we are entangled in past regrets or future anxieties, the channel of intuition is clouded. But in the present moment, when breath steadies and awareness softens, intuitive impressions rise with clarity. Presence does not mean withdrawal from the world. It means showing up fully, aware of sensations, emotions, and inner currents as they arise. By being present, we create a sacred space where the universe can communicate, not through grand gestures, but through the language of subtlety. This is where alignment deepens, when we become receptive vessels rather than constant transmitters of restless thought. Yet it is not enough to sense intuition. We must learn to distinguish it from fear, desire, or projection. Fear often disguises itself as caution, telling us to avoid risk at all costs. Desire can mimic intuition, urging us toward what is pleasurable but not necessarily aligned. Projection arises when we interpret inner voices through the lens of expectation, hearing not truth but what we wish to hear. Intuition, by contrast, carries a quality of stillness. It does not clamor for attention. It does not argue or persuade. It simply is. When followed, it leaves a residue of peace, even if the path it indicates seems challenging. The test is not whether intuition promises comfort, but whether it resonates with a deep sense of rightness that transcends momentary emotion. Listening to intuition also requires a reorientation of values. In a culture that prizes evidence, productivity, and tangible results, intuition often feels like an unreliable guide. But intuition is not irrational. It is supra-rational. It gathers information not only from conscious thought but from the body, from subconscious memory, and from the energetic field we share with all life. Neuroscience suggests that much of human decision-making is influenced by non-conscious processing, meaning the body knows before the mind catches up. Spiritual traditions echo this truth, teaching that the heart perceives pathways that the intellect cannot map. To honor intuition, therefore, is to honor a more holistic intelligence that has always been within us. When chaos and uncertainty dominate, intuition becomes a lifeline. The world outside may offer conflicting advice, unstable opportunities, or overwhelming demands. Logic alone may struggle to discern the way forward. Intuition cuts through the noise with a clarity that arises from alignment with the deeper flow of the universe. To ignore it is to remain adrift in confusion. To follow it is to step into a current that carries us toward the experiences meant for us, even if we cannot see the entire river ahead. The cultivation of intuition is an ongoing practice. It grows stronger when acknowledged, weaker when dismissed. Each time we honor a subtle nudge and act upon it, we strengthen the channel. Each time we ignore it out of fear or skepticism, we dull its voice. Rituals of reflection, moments of silence in the morning, journaling impressions that arise during meditation, observing bodily responses to decisions are ways of deepening our connection. Over time, intuition becomes not an occasional guide, but a constant companion, one that transforms every decision into an opportunity for alignment. Listening to intuition is, in truth, listening to the universe itself. For the universe does not always thunder from the heavens. It whispers through the language of inner knowing. To trust this voice is to recognize that we are not separate from the flow of existence, but integral to it. The universe is not indifferent to us. It communicates, responds, and co-creates in partnership with our openness, and intuition is the bridge, the sacred thread connecting human awareness to divine guidance. Thus, in times of chaos and uncertainty, the most powerful act is not to grasp for control, but to surrender into listening. The mind may resist, but the heart knows. Intuition is not a luxury for mystics. It is a birthright of every human being. To honor it is to reclaim the wisdom that has always been within us, guiding us gently back into alignment with the life we are meant to live. The human longing for direction intensifies during seasons of uncertainty. We look to the horizon, and ask where our choices are leading, but rarely do we pause to recognize that the path itself is not something to be discovered. It is something to be created in partnership with the universe. To co-create is to step beyond the illusion of control and beyond the passivity of resignation. It is to recognize that life is neither entirely in our hands nor entirely outside of them, but is instead a dynamic conversation between our inner world and the greater field of existence. This dialogue is constant, and whether we are conscious of it or not, we are always participating in it. The first truth of co-creation is that energy precedes form. What we embody internally, our thoughts, emotions, and intentions, becomes the vibrational blueprint that shapes our external experiences. Many misunderstand manifestation as a matter of simply asking the universe for what they want, but in reality, manifestation is less about demanding outcomes and more about embodying the qualities of the life we seek. When we carry resentment or fear while hoping for abundance, we send out contradictory signals. The universe does not respond to words alone. It resonates with the frequencies we consistently inhabit. Co-creating, therefore, begins with honesty about the states we are cultivating within ourselves. Partnership with the universe requires surrender, but surrender is not passive. It is the willingness to release rigid expectations about how something must unfold while still committing fully to the direction we sense is right. In practice, this means taking action aligned with our deepest values while holding space for mystery. For example, someone seeking meaningful work may set the intention to live with purpose, cultivate skills, and pursue opportunities that resonate with their gifts. The exact form this takes, a new career, a collaboration, or an unforeseen opening, cannot be forced. Co-creation invites us to act with clarity yet remain open, trusting that the unfolding may exceed what the mind imagines. Listening to signs and synchronicities is part of this collaboration. Synchronicities are not mere coincidences. They are reflections of inner alignment mirrored in the outer world. They often arrive as repeated numbers, recurring themes in conversations, or chance encounters that seem orchestrated. While not every coincidence is meaningful, those that stir a sense of recognition or alignment carry significance. To notice them requires attentiveness, the same attentiveness cultivated when listening to intuition. These signs remind us that we are not moving through life alone, but within a field that responds, nudges, and guides when we are receptive. A challenge many encounter in co-creation is impatience. We live in a culture conditioned to immediate results, where waiting feels like failure. But the rhythm of the universe is not the rhythm of instant gratification. Growth, healing, and transformation often unfold slowly, like the unseen roots of a tree before it breaks the soil. To co-create is to trust this unseen process, to believe that the energies we are nurturing within will eventually find expression. Impatience scatters energy, while patience allows it to consolidate into form. This is why practices of daily grounding, whether through meditation, breathwork, or mindful ritual, are essential. They remind us that manifestation is less about speed and more about consistency of alignment. Co-creation also asks us to confront and release the limiting beliefs that sabotage our intentions. Many desire abundance, yet carry deep-seated doubts about worthiness. Others long for love, but fear vulnerability. These inner contradictions create resistance. The universe does not withhold, it mirrors. Thus, when outcomes do not align with desires, the question is not whether the universe has failed us, but whether we are unconsciously holding patterns that block what we seek. To co-create effectively, we must shine light on these patterns, acknowledging them without judgment, and gradually replacing them with states of openness and trust. This is not about pretending fears do not exist, but about refusing to let them dominate the signal we emit. Another dimension of co-creation lies in the choices we make each day. While intuition and synchronicities offer guidance, it is our daily actions that build the bridge from intention to reality. Small, consistent choices aligned with our values reinforce the vibration we want to sustain. If one desires harmony, then choosing forgiveness over resentment, compassion over judgment, and presence over distraction are acts of co-creation. These choices may appear ordinary, yet over time they shape extraordinary outcomes. The right path does not appear fully formed. It is carved step by step through alignment of intention, emotion, and action. The heart of co-creation is relationship. relationship with the self, with others, and with the universe. When we are disconnected from ourselves, ignoring our true needs and silencing our intuition, the path feels fragmented. When we live in isolation, disconnected from community, our energy contracts rather than expands. But when we honor ourselves, nurture connections that uplift, and approach the universe with reverence, we create fertile conditions for the path to emerge with clarity. Co-creation thrives in environments where love, gratitude, and openness circulate freely. Even in times of chaos, co-creation is possible. In fact, chaos can become the catalyst that awakens us to our creative power. When old structures dissolve, when certainty collapses, space opens for something new to be born. It is in these moments that the universe often invites us to step into deeper alignment, to stop clinging to what no longer serves, and to participate in shaping what comes next. The invitation is not to fear the unknown, but to recognize it as a canvas upon which we can paint in collaboration with the infinite. In truth, co-creating the path ahead is an act of courage. It is the courage to dream, the courage to trust, the courage to act, and the courage to release. It is not always easy, but it is profoundly rewarding. For when we align ourselves with the universe, when we listen deeply to intuition, and when we participate consciously in the unfolding of life, we discover that even in uncertainty, we are never lost. We are exactly where we need to be, shaping and being shaped by the sacred dialogue between self and cosmos. When life unravels and structures collapse, the immediate instinct is to seek control, to tighten our grip on the pieces slipping through our fingers. Yet the paradox is that the more we attempt to control chaos, the more chaotic it appears. True clarity does not come from bending external reality into predictable patterns, but from cultivating an inner state that remains steady even as the world trembles. To walk through chaos with clarity is to discover that stability is not the absence of storms, but the presence of an unwavering center. Chaos itself is not inherently destructive. It is a force of dissolution, a breaking apart of what no longer serves, and often the prelude to transformation. The human tendency to label it as negative arises from the discomfort of not knowing, from the fear that without familiar structures, we will lose our sense of identity. But history, both collective and personal, shows that moments of upheaval often mark turning points. What appears as collapse frequently hides the seeds of new beginnings. Recognizing this shifts our relationship with chaos. Instead of resisting it, we begin to meet it as an ally, a demanding but wise teacher that strips away illusions and invites us to live in greater authenticity. Inner clarity emerges when we stop trying to predict every outcome and instead anchor ourselves in presence. Presence does not mean ignoring the storm, but choosing not to be carried away by it. It is the practice of noticing the rush of anxiety without letting it dictate decisions, of acknowledging fear without surrendering to it. Presence acts as a compass when maps fail, reminding us that the only place from which to move forward is the present moment. From this grounded position, even the most turbulent circumstances lose their power to define us. We become the still point around which the chaos swirls. Another dimension of clarity lies in discernment. Chaos often overwhelms us not only with events, but with the flood of opinions, expectations, and narratives imposed by others. Friends, family, media, and culture all attempt to interpret the storm for us. Yet clarity is not inherited from outside voices. It is born from within. Discernment arises when we sift through external noise and recognize what resonates with our deepest values. It is the act of listening inwardly and realizing that the voice of intuition often contradicts the louder voices of the world. When discernment is cultivated, decisions flow not from fear of disapproval, but from alignment with the truth we carry within. Resilience also plays a vital role in navigating uncertainty. Resilience is not about suppressing pain or denying hardship. It is about allowing ourselves to feel the full weight of experience while refusing to be broken by it. To be resilient is to grieve without losing hope, to stumble without giving up, to rest without abandoning the path. Resilience transforms chaos into an arena for growth rather than defeat. Each challenge faced with resilience deepens our trust in our capacity to endure and adapt, reinforcing the sense that no storm is final. The journey through chaos further requires compassion, both for ourselves and for others. In times of uncertainty, it is easy to become harsh, to judge our fear as weakness or our hesitation as failure. But clarity thrives in an atmosphere of kindness. When we extend compassion to ourselves, we create space for healing. When we extend it to others, we dissolve the walls that chaos tries to build between us. Compassion becomes a bridge, reminding us that while each person's path is unique, the struggle with uncertainty is universal. In shared compassion, isolation dissolves and we remember that we are part of a collective journey. A powerful yet often overlooked aspect of walking with clarity is ritual. Rituals provide continuity when the world feels fragmented. They need not be elaborate. Even simple acts of lighting a candle, breathing deeply at sunrise, or writing down a single word of intention can anchor us in meaning. Rituals remind the body and the psyche that order can be cultivated even in disorder. They create small islands of certainty in a sea of unpredictability, offering moments of grounding that expand into an atmosphere of clarity. Chaos can also be viewed as a mirror. It reflects back the areas of our lives where attachment is strongest, where we resist letting go of what is ready to dissolve. If we pay attention, we begin to notice patterns. The jobs we cling to despite feeling drained, the relationships we hold on to despite their expiration, the identities we protect even as they stifle us. Chaos exposes these attachments by shaking them loose. To walk through chaos with clarity, therefore, is to embrace its revelations, however painful, and to ask what life is asking us to release so that new possibilities may take root. Ultimately, clarity in times of chaos is less about having answers and more about cultivating trust. Trust that the storm is temporary, trust that the universe is not indifferent to our journey, and trust that within us lies the capacity to meet uncertainty with strength. Trust does not guarantee ease, but it infuses even the most difficult days with meaning. It transforms chaos from a threat into a passage, a rite of initiation that calls us to grow beyond the boundaries of who we once were. Walking through chaos with clarity is an act of faith, but not blind faith. It is faith grounded in the evidence of past survival, in the quiet power of presence, in the wisdom of intuition, and in the subtle guidance of the universe. It is a faith that does not deny hardship but transcends it, affirming that no storm has the power to extinguish the light we carry within. And as we walk with clarity, step by step, we discover that even in uncertainty, there is a rhythm guiding us, a current beneath the waves, drawing us ever closer to alignment with the truth of our existence. As we arrive at the end of this journey, let us pause and reflect on the thread that has woven through every chapter, the recognition that alignment with the universe is not an abstract idea, but a lived experience that grows stronger each time we choose presence over distraction, trust over fear, and openness over resistance. Chaos and uncertainty will always have a place in life, for they are part of the rhythm of existence, yet they need not dictate who we become. When we listen to the quiet voice of intuition, when we embody the frequency of what we truly desire, and when we walk through storms with compassion and discernment, we discover that clarity is not a distant prize, but an inner posture available here and now. This alignment does not eliminate difficulty, but it transforms how we carry it. Instead of battling with life as though it were an adversary, we learn to co-create with it as a partner. Each breath becomes a reminder that we are not separate from the vast intelligence that sustains galaxies and births stars. Each choice becomes an opportunity to affirm the values of our soul. Each moment of stillness becomes a doorway to deeper wisdom. Through this lens, uncertainty loses its terror and chaos reveals itself as the soil of transformation. The invitation before you is simple yet profound, to live not as a passive observer of fate, nor as an anxious controller of destiny, but as a conscious participant in the unfolding mystery. To recognize that you are both the traveler and the path, both the question and the answer, both the wave and the ocean. And as you continue forward, may you remember that the universe is always listening, always guiding, always ready to co-create a reality in harmony with the deepest truth of who you are. Now I ask you this, in the quiet of your heart, are you truly willing to release the noise of fear and step into a life where your intuition guides each choice? If this message has resonated with you, let it be the beginning of a deeper practice, not just a fleeting thought. I invite you to subscribe to this channel so you can continue walking this journey with us, surrounded by teachings that nurture alignment, clarity, and authentic manifestation. And as you take this next step, do not stop here. Continue watching the videos on your screen right now, for each one is designed to expand your awareness, strengthen your trust, and remind you that you are never alone on this path. The universe is ready. The question is, are you ready to listen?